Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for November 29th through December 5th. This week I read 5 books, I read 1 webcomic, I watched 3 shows, I watched 2 movies, and I listened to 1 book. That serious uptake in media consumption is probably enough to remind you that this was the week of the Queer Lit Readathon Round 6. I did black out the bingo board, although I didn't end up reading everything on my TBR. I am still working on the last book for my TBR, but I figured I read so much that it's fine, I can roll it over into this week. First I finished Genderqueer by Maia Kobabe. This is a graphic novel memoir about Maia realizing many things to do with gender and sexuality. This was a deeply personal exploration of being genderqueer, what that means, what pronouns fit the best for Maia, as well as sexuality, and figuring out who you have a romantic interest in and how far you're able to go with that person sexually. This seemed remarkably open-ended, and I actually wouldn't mind a follow-up just to understand what's been going on in Maia's life since this was published. After that, I read Mine for Christmas by Lawless. This is a cute male-male romance about these 2 guys who knew each other when they were younger. They reconnect while they're in college. Both of them fall in love with each other. Neither one of them realizes it. One of them has to go home for the holidays, and his mom is always setting him up with these guys, and he hates how awkward that is, so he tells her that he has a boyfriend when he doesn't have a boyfriend, and when he has to produce said boyfriend, surprise, it's his crush, and then surprise, they become real boyfriends, and it's adorable. This was a novella, so it was very short. I read it in 1 sitting. I really enjoyed their dynamic. It was adorable and Christmassy, and that's what I wanted from it. After that, I finally allowed myself to read the book that I've been anticipating for so long, which is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. The blurb for this book makes it seem like it's going to be a Kate and Leopold retelling, and it is not. The only things that really has in common with that is there is some time travel, although it's completely different, and it takes place in New York. However, I'm not mad about it because I absolutely loved this book. Our main character moves to New York for a change of scenery and sees this girl every single day on the subway and develops quite a crush from their first meeting, and then comes to realize that this girl is actually stuck on the subway, can't leave the subway, and is also from the 1970s. That's a whole big mystery that needs to be figured out, and who would be better equipped for that type of mystery than a girl that actually grew up on mysteries. Her mother has actually been looking for her brother for many years. He's been missing and she never gave up looking for him, to the detriment of our main character's upbringing. So she knows how to do research, which comes in very handy. Also, when she moved to New York, she moved in with a psychic, so that also helped a little bit. And her band of queer friends come together to try to figure out a plan to get her crush off the subway. This book has so much going for it, and you are just not ready for how much you're going to love this book when it comes out next year. This week I also read The Black Veins, which is about this girl named Blythe who is one of 7 guardians of this magical system somewhere in the United States. Basically, to boil it down, there are different magic factions, but you can live kind of wherever you want as long as you don't do magic in front of normal people, because then you're gonna get arrested. And as a way of distributing an overload of power, they actually put 7 different types of power into 7 different children when they were very young, and eventually they will grow into her powers. She hasn't grown into hers yet. She's not overly bothered by that until her family is stolen from her and she goes on a cross-country trip to save them. Who better to help her out than the other 6 guardians? This was really fantastic. It had a bunch of different cool magic. You had to figure out these little mysteries along the way. Some of them I saw coming and I was like, how do these characters not see it? And then some I didn't, which is just wonderful. The cast of characters is incredibly diverse, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the next book, because this leaves off in a really excellent cliffhanger. After that, I read the group book, which was The Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. This is about Wes, who plans to spend the summer working at his slacker bookstore job that he absolutely loves. He grew up going to this store. He also plans to finally ask out his best friend on a date because he's been crushing on him for a very long time. And for whatever reason, he has to help with his brother's wedding, which is fine with him because he actually really likes his sister-in-law to be, but he and his brother don't get along very well. However, it comes to the attention of the staff that the bookstore might be closing, and they don't want that to happen, so they start amping up ways to get more customers into the bookstore, raise more money for the bookstore so they can stay. Again, a delightful, diverse cast of characters all coming together with these wonderful different personalities and just helping each other out, and I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the will they or won't they of certain characters. Julian Winters, I will always read your books. I've loved every single one of them, so I'm very excited for whatever you publish next. Then, since One Last Stop didn't end up being a retelling and that was one of the squares on the bingo board, I read a D&D graphic novel comic on the internet. It was called Fallow Time. It was labeled as a queer comic on the Queer Comic database. It didn't have anything overtly queer in it besides, I believe, 3 female characters just kind of sitting in the forest doing D&D things, so it was cute and sweet and short, and I'll link it down below, but I can tell you I am using it to count for that spot so I can black out the board, because we all know by now I love blacking out the bingo board. This week we started watching the Orville, and it is really weird to see Seth MacFarlane's face when he's talking, because I always expect that voice to come out of a cartoon dog. I will eventually get over that, but it's still always a little bit weird because it's such a distinct voice. Anyway, this is about a ship captain in the Union fleet who has his own vessel for the first time, and his CO ends up being somebody he doesn't really want to see from his past, and then he has this whole diverse cast of characters who run the ship with him, and they go on space adventures. It is very, very funny. It is very, very Star Trek-esque, but then with this twist from Seth MacFarlane's type of humor, and I very much enjoy it. We also finished the 4th season of The Magicians, which is all that is currently available on Canadian Prime, which sucks because apparently there is a 5th season even with the way that the 4th season ended, and I just want to see it. I want to see it now. In the last episode of this season we got definite like this is the last episode ever vibes, and then I was very happy to find out that there is a 5th season, which will be the final season. The amount of musical talent in this show just makes this so much fun, because every once in a while out of nowhere the cast will just start singing and they are so good. I was also holding back tears in the last episode for reasons I can't talk about because so many spoilers, but I am interested to see where the 5th season goes from that point. The other show we watched was a single episode of The Holiday Movies That Made Us, which is a mini documentary about the movie Elf, which was just delightful. We were wanting to watch something Christmassy. We haven't actually watched Elf yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to. This was all about the making of it, how it ended up being made, and the editing on this show is fast-paced and it really draws you in, and I'm going to have to watch a bunch more episodes of this. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. As for the holiday movies we actually watched this week, we watched The Holiday, which is the movie where these 2 women switch houses for a couple of weeks around the holidays, and they end up being in each other's lives and meeting men in each other's lives and other things that happened. This was delightful. It was very weird to go into this and see the man that plays John Smith on Man in the High Castle being a complete d-bag in this. Like, he is the worst. It was also really weird to see the cast being so young, because I believe this was like 2006, so it was many years ago, which makes me feel really old. Another movie from many years ago that we watched was The Santa Claus. This one is from 1994, and I used to watch it all the time when I was a child. I also used to watch a lot of Home Improvement when I was a child, and it was interesting to go back to this and see how much of Tim Allen's character in this is basically Tim Allen's character in Home Improvement. And speaking of baby faces, David Krumholtz as the elf Bernard. Child. It was amazing. I loved it. This movie, of course, is about Scott Calvin, who interrupts Santa delivering presents one day, and because that Santa dies, the mantle passes to him because he puts on the Santa suit. But he's divorced from his son's mother, and the mother had been trying to wean the kid off the concept of Santa Claus, so she thinks that he is purposely trying to become more like Santa Claus so the kid will like him, and there's this whole messy custody thing going on while he is becoming Santa over this year. One thing that was incredibly upsetting is there's a point where he just gains 45 pounds overnight to kind of get the Santa physique, and when he steps on the scale he is 193 pounds, and I'm like, I weigh more than Santa. Cool. When I was a kid I wouldn't have understood that that is a normal adult weight because I was a child, but yeah. Super weird. But this, of course, was a heartwarming Christmas tale, and I really loved rewatching it because I haven't seen it in so many years. The audiobook I listened to this week was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the start of a fantasy series that has a diverse cast. I absolutely loved that. There was in fact more than one character that used neo-pronouns, which was great to see. However, I'm coming to realize more and more as I read them that fantasy worlds that are really complex with their religion as well as their politics, and there's kind of some battles going on, aren't usually my thing, and that's perfectly fine. I can still read this and really enjoy the writing, which was beautiful, and the dynamics between the characters, but the politics and the religion and that type of thing is just not something I'm overly drawn to. This had 4 point of view characters, therefore 4 voice actors for it, and I really enjoyed kind of seeing how they all came together near the end of this book, because it's not immediately apparent when you start the book how these 4 different characters are going to come together. We have a sun priestess, we have a ship's captain, we have this man who was blinded when he was a child by his mother for some reason, and then for the life of me, because I haven't had any caffeine yet, I can't think of what the 4th perspective was. It's possible that the 4th perspective was just the person who is writing things about crows at the beginning of chapters that are kind of like chapter openings that weren't actually to do with the perspectives. Is that how it went? Oh goodness, somebody just let me know down below, because obviously, as I've stated, I don't really follow these things very well. However, my personal failings aside, I really enjoyed the writing, I really enjoyed the characters. I'm going to have to read more by this author. I've been meaning to read books by this author for quite some time now, and this is the first one that finally showed up in my feed for my audiobooks from the library, so I'm really glad I got to listen to it, even though this type of book is not my general cup of tea. If you participated in the 6th round of the Queer Lit Readathon, thank you so much for doing so. I'd love to hear all about it down in the comments below, and the 2021 dates were published yesterday, so I will link that video in places for you. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you, and if you click that notification bell, you will actually be notified when I upload new content. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal and my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!